Rebecca Davis of Weird, Scary, and Interesting. It's been a while since I did a main episode because this past week I've been sick. So, don't worry, I haven't forgot you guys. It's but I had to get a little better, so. And I did lose some weight during my time of being sick. So, since I'm all feeling better, I thought it's time to get back doing main episodes for Weird, Scary, and Interesting. Okay. I was just looking at a news article that just came up when I was trying to look for some topic from the news for us to talk about. And this article we're gonna be talking about is perfect since last week Pope Francis had passed away. And his funeral was last Saturday. Me and my roommate watched that funeral on YouTube. It was a nice funeral. Pope Francis was a man of the people. Because he came from a background, a humble background. He was the first Pope from the Americas. So, now since Pope Francis is gone, may Pope Francis rest in peace. Actually, Pope Francis was my favorite Pope, and I'm not even Catholic. I'm a Protestant. And I think Anita she's not sure what she is, but she might be Unitarian. But anyways, I like Pope Francis. Yeah. And he's the second Pope in office in my lifetime to die. Because I remember when Pope John Paul II died, I was still in high school. And Pope Benedict XVI, he was a retired Pope, so Pope Emeritus? I think that's what they call it. He's not acting. Pope Emeritus is not technically an acting Pope because they're retired. It's somebody else running the show. So now since Pope Francis is gone, as to say, may he rest in peace. You will be missed. Now it's up to it's time that now the Cardinals have to elect a new Pope. So yeah, the papacy is technically uh, elective monarchy. It's technically its own little country, but small. At one time, it did rule a vast, a bunch of papal states, but eventually later on, it grew down to what it is today, just Vatican City, which sits in Rome. So, with that, since right now you say we're between popes, it's time for the cardinals to elect the new one. So that's what we're going to be talking about. The article is from CNN, and it's called "Why Do Popes Choose Different Names, and What Could the Name of the New Pope Be?" So yeah, see, every pope has their birth name. And when you become pope, you get your name changes to the pope, to the name that you're gonna use when you're a pope. Kind of like how the monarchies at one time, they used to have to change their name when they become king. Like say for example some guy that gets elected pope. Could be anybody. It could be somebody's not even not even one of the guys that we're expecting might get the job. So it could be some guy called George Miller. From Liverpool, England. He gets the job, and then he chooses his name to be like Francis II. So okay, let's get it. Like the other ceremonies and traditions that accompany the advent of a new pope, this newly chosen will be imbued with centuries of Catholic history. District for its many layers of meaning. Changing its name is one of the first actions the new pope takes as head of the Roman Catholic Church, and can play a hugely symbolic role in setting the tone for his, hopefully I get this right, pontificacy. It is a prediction that was set in the Middle Ages. So that's long time ago, way back in history. And while there is no doctrinal reason for a pope to choose a new name, so it's not set in stone that, like, George Miller from Liverpool, England, has to change his name from George. And it has become part of the election process. So, how did the tradition come about? What are the meanings behind different papal names? Because there's always a meaning behind everybody's name. Behind papal names. Okay, what name could the next pope choose? How will it be? Hold on, I'll be back. What name could the next pope choose? And how will it be announced? So, could we get a Pope Francis II, or a John Paul III, or Benedict the 17th, or another Urban? Or we could, like, with when Pope Francis came to be Pope, it could be a totally different name that we'd never heard of. It has never been used yet. Why do popes choose a new name? That's a good question. Saint Peter, the first pope and one of the 12 apostles. Saint Peter was the guy who started this whole papacy thing off. And was renamed from his birth name of Simon. Almost accidentally said a lost city, his name, but St. Peter's real name was Simon. By Jesus, but this was before he became the head of the church. So this is when Jesus was still alive, before the whole crucifixion thing that happened. but him being Pope was after Jesus' death. Another 500 years would pass before Pope John II, who was the head of the church from 533 to 535, started the papal tradition when he shed the name, hopefully I get this right, Mercurius. And which he thought was too like the name of the pagan god Mercury. It's pretty windy out today. Everything in the house is getting blown around. Okay. Next pope to change his name was Peter. Hopefully they get this right. It is old-fashioned names. King Pananova. In the 10th century, so that's way back in history, who became John XIV. To avoid being called Peter II. Yeah, I heard there was me and Anita were watching a video this past week that there's not a lot of popes wanted to touch the name Peter, like use the name Peter because of, in honor of Saint Peter. So that's why you don't hear now Peter the 28th, because that name is not being used. It's kind of like you don't hear now any English kings being called Alfred the 18th, because that name hasn't been used. Yeah, okay. More, in brackets, this is more on that level. More on that below, I mean. And was, and said Lim Temple, assistant professor in the history of Catholicism. Catholic is at the center of the Catholic studies of Durham University. After the 10th century, and taking a different name became a common practice for popes once they had been elected as popes from countries such as France and Germany. Oh. Okay, that's just weird. The wind's moving our fan while I'm reading this to you guys. Okay. As I say, back to the article. Countries such as France and Germany adopted more Italian sounding names to mimic their predecessors. And that then became the custom, with only a handful of popes keeping their baptismal names, including hopefully you get this, Mark Marcellus, Marcellus. So Mark second. Adrian the Fourth. No, Adrian, sorry, wrong. He was the sixth, who both served as the head of the church in the 16th century. So there, we answered that question. Okay. Next question is, what makes a pope choose a specific name? So that's a good answer. What makes a pope choose a significant name? The answer is each name is steeped in its own history, in constitutions, and linked to advancements or failings of previous popes or saints who carried it. Linking to the names of previous popes who weathered crisis, inspired reform, or were incredibly popular, can offer, although not always play a role in the choosing of a name. Temple told CNN, for example, Pope Francis chose his papal name to honor Saint Francis of Assisi, with his love of peace and nature, as well as his care for the poor, and focused on the pork curtains flying everywhere. And focus on cooperation between different sects of the church. These associations, established priorities for Francis's papacy. socks off and get hot. For some reason it's pretty hot out today. And it says plus 30 today. That would do it. Okay. Let's get back to the article. His predecessor, Pope Benedict XVI chose his papal name to show his commitment to peace and reconciliation by honoring Saint Benedict and Pope Benedict the 15th. So that's the guy that had it before. And who was the head of the church during World War I. That's the war that said it was supposed to end all wars. And Temple said, okay, answers that question. They chooses to honor somebody. There's a saint or a guy that previously used it. It's kind of like Elizabeth the Second. She chose to use Elizabeth, besides it was her birth name. I guess actually it might be a little different, maybe, because she really didn't choose traditional like the traditional norms of changing the name, like her uncle and father did, just to keep the birth name. Okay. Okay, let's go on. Are any names off limits? Let's see if there's any names that's too taboo for the papacy. Which 80 names off limits is a good question. Okay, let's see. And the answer is one name that the new pope definitely won't adopt is Peter. Just like we were saying before. Out of respect for the first pope. Saint Peter the Apostle, but also perhaps because centuries old. Hold on, I'll be back. Okay, sorry about that. I just had an answer a phone call. Okay, Saint Peter the Apostle, but also perhaps because of the centuries old prophecy that Peter II will be the last pope to serve. What do they say about Francis? Okay, there are other names that aren't necessarily off limits, but are less likely to be chosen because of their association with most recent popes who adore them, the said temple. He identifies the name Urban as an unlikely candidate for the new pope because it would harken back to Urban the 8th, who started the trial of Galileo Galilei. Yeah, that's the guy that thought that the earth revolved around the sun. He wasn't having it. Urban wasn't having it. Okay. And would not sit well in modern debates about science and faith and religion. In similar vein, the name Pius would re-evoke memories of Pius the 12th. Those roles during World War II. So he was the guy that was Pope during the Second World War. And has been increasingly criticized and temple added. So there was two popes that names that wouldn't be top of the pickings to be revisited for a new pope name when we get a new pope. What? Next question. What could the next pope be called? Good question. If the new pope wishes to continue on a reforming path, Temple says the name's likely Leo. I can go behind that. My horoscope sign is Leo. Yeah. And referring to Leo the 13th. Sorry if on my long pause when I'm reading this. I'm trying to remember my Roman numerals. Who was known for his dedication to social justice, fair wages, safe working conditions, or innocent the 13th, who sought to root out corruption, might be a appropriate choice. So Leo the 13th was a pretty good guy. And is innocent the 13th too. A new pope who is elected from the global south, like Pope Francis. Pope Francis was from Argentina, South America. May also choose a name adopted by early non-Italian prophets, pontiffs, such prophets. That was right. Pontiffs. Pontiffs, such as, hopefully I get this name right, G. Lascaris and Melt Iadis or Victor, who all hailed from the African continent. Temple added, over centuries there have been 44 papal names used only once. Most recently, Pope Francis's own. His decision to choose a unique name had massive historical ramifications, Temple said, for it had been 1,100 years since the last uniquely named pope in the form of Pope Lando. That sounds like a fun pope. Whose pontification it lasted less than a year in the 10th century. John is the most popular name with 21 popes choosing to adopt it. Although somewhat confusing, the last pope to take the name was John the 23rd. After historians accidentally misnumbered the popes after John the 14th. Oops. This number. Okay. Gregory and Benedict are also popular pontifical names with 16 and 15 uses respectively, while Innocent and Leo come close behind with 13 uses each. So it's the number of times that these names were chosen. Benedict the 10th was declared an anti-pope and expelled from the papal throne. someone else is kicked off. And enhance the discrepancy in the number of subsequent benedicts. Well, then we got that answer on that question. So let's look at the next question. How will the new Pope's name be announced after white smoke has risen from the chimney of the Sistine Chapel, and the bells of St. Peter's have rung? The newly elected Pope's name will be converted to the world, conveyed to the world in Latin pronunciation. Pronounced. The senior cardinal deacon will step into the central balcony and will step onto the central balcony of St. Peter's Basilica. It's kind of like how Denmark, they do proclaim it, that they just announced this is the new ruler. And accompanied by 2 priests, will deliver the iconic announcement. Okay. Warn you, I've never spoke Latin before, so that might sound, hopefully, bear with me. Habet amoris, Papa ama. It means we have a pope. And everybody claps on Okay, the new Pope's name, as well as his baptismal name. So they would, as our hypothetical guy that got chosen as Pope, George Miller from Liverpool, from the start of this episode, they would say George Miller is Leo the Leo the 14th. George Miller. is our new Pope. So, and will be translated into Latin. An announcement for his former surname will be remained in his native language. And I'll tell you after I'm done reading this what they do. Okay. For example, when Pope Francis was elected in 2013, his given names of Gregorio Amario were delivered as Gregorio Maramiu, but his surname Jolo. Wait, I got that. My Spanish is kind of rusty right now. Renamed. His papal name was announced as Franciscum and was the last word of the proclaimant as his customary. So, when, well, now you know what they do. So, the name of the Pope, the new Pope, when they pass away, that name will be their birth name, is used for when they pass away, and they have to make sure that, like, our hypothetical Pope passed away, and they, instead of saying Leo the 14th, are you dead? They say George Miller, are you dead? And knows, which, actually, think of it, that would be a great episode to talk about what happens at the time of the Pope, of a Pope's passing. Just give me an idea. So now, hopefully you like this video and you find the topic of why do popes choose different names and what could name of the new pope be. We don't know. It'd be interesting to find out how one of the candidates for this papal race gets in, or maybe it'd be like Pope Francis, some underdog dog comes out nowhere and wins the whole thing. And that's who her new pope is. It'd be very interesting to find out in the next weeks. So, I heard it could take up to weeks, or some cases, a papal election, just a day, to find out who is going to be the new pope. So, we'll have to find out. Wait and find out who's gonna be the next one after Pope Francis. So, hopefully you like this episode. And you know this drill. Like and subscribe. Don't forget to comment, because I want to know how I'm doing. And what you guys think of these topics of videos I'm giving. And don't forget, like and subscribe and comment. And something else I always forget. Ring the bell. Or as my roommate said on her one video, like the bell, which that was And I want to tell you to go check out me and Anita's second channel, Anita and Becky. We were doing banana muffins. There's going to be a lot of other different things we'll do there. We don't always release a video on Anita and Becky, but once in a while we do. So go check out Anita and Becky, and don't forget to check out Anita's channel, Just Anita. So for now, I will say goodbye, and hopefully you enjoy this lovely weather we're having. So, goodbye.